Hello, Seiiti Arata. If you heard the phrase, information is power, notice that it is no longer true. Information is not power. The world has changed. Everybody today already has access to practically all the information in the world in the palm of their hand on their mobile phone. See, if you have so much information, why haven't you reached your financial goals? Firstly, sometimes the access of information hinders more than it helps. If you're stuck in an endless cycle of seeking more and more information, always wanting to know more. And secondly, access to information is not enough. You need to implement that information fast, remove learning blocks, and stop procrastinating. There is a wisdom so ancient that is transmitted in Latin. Scientia potentia est. It means information is power, knowledge is power. It was a phrase that was said for the first century until around 15 years ago when the launch of the iPhone accelerated the smartphone era. Today, however, information is a commodity. It is a basic product. It is something that may be even causing friction in the way of your enrichment process. You have access to all the information that you could ever want in your pocket. With a few taps on your cell phone screen, you have more information than the great leaders of humanity, than the most powerful kings of all time, than the richest men in the world until the end of the 20th century. Talking specifically about finances, you can quickly get access to information regarding all listed companies. You can filter data, you can generate graphs, you can compare numbers, you can ask questions about terms that you don't understand, you can even watch explanatory videos on virtually any financial transaction for free. However, having access to information is not enough. It is necessary to use it correctly. And to earn more money, information is a necessary but not sufficient condition. Until the internet became popular, getting information to make good financial decisions was expensive, time-consuming, and laborious. To look at the balance sheet of listed companies, for example, you had to wait for the publication in a printed newspaper, and then you had to buy the newspaper and look and write down the numbers, and then compare those numbers with the balance sheets of other companies, and then do the math to decide which stock was worth to invest in. Once you decided, you had to call the broker by phone, and then that person would write down your offer and try to buy the stock by screaming at the stock exchange and give you a call back if they were successful. It may seem like a long time ago, but we're talking here about 20 years. In this relatively short time, the internet became popular, smartphones went into the pockets of millions of people, and financial information became cheap and quick and easy to obtain. As a result, everybody became millionaire, right? No, of course not. First, financial information is competing with Instagram photos, with TikTok dances and addictive games. And once again, it is worth remembering, information is not power. There is only power in organized, filtered, and implemented information. Faced with a world of information, you need to separate what is really useful and of good quality. If the scarcity of information was a problem until very recently, today the problem is just the opposite. Too much information can confuse, paralyze, and lead you to make the wrong decisions. Therefore, the first step in transforming information into wealth is knowing how to filter what is useful, what is of good quality. To achieve your financial goals, you have to block low-quality, low-value information and focus on consuming high-quality information that is geared specifically towards your financial goals. On the internet, everyone posts whatever they want. Conducting searches, you will find everything from high-quality financial information to dangerous content. You will find people who want to scam and sell pyramid schemes or simply hunt clicks with low-quality information that has the potential to go viral. When you find a good source of information, save it to your favorites. Register your email, follow them on social networks. Even among quality sources, be careful not to go overboard with quantity. How many videos on the same subject do you need to watch? How many authors who basically say the same things do you need to follow? Is adding one more quality source bringing you closer to your goal, or is it taking up your time that you could be already implementing what you already know? That last question is essential. Once you have selected the quality and the quantity of sources that are ideal for your case, it is time to stop consuming information and to take action. Quality information can accelerate your enrichment process as long as it is implemented. It is not enough to have access to high-quality financial information. You need to implement that information. And it's not enough to just implement something carelessly. Implementation also needs to be quality. The element that differentiates the results that you will reap is the type of action that you implement based on information that you already have. After all, it is no use having access to quality information if you don't implement anything or if you implement it improperly. Our results directly depend on our actions. In the same way that no surf channel can teach you how to surf if you never go to the beach, no investment channel can multiply your money if you don't practice, if you don't put your money on the line. If the results are only noticed when we implement quality information well, why can't most people who follow those YouTube channels and social networks and finance websites get rich as they would like? There are 3 answers to this question: the habit of not implementing quickly, learning obstacles, and procrastination. Let's review each one of them. Speed matters. The habit of not quickly implementing quality information makes you lose money. You are here following Arata Academy content, and our motto is your continued improvement. This improvement is in all areas, like to communicate better, to have more concentration, better organization, learn faster, have better relationships, be happier, more fulfilled, have financial success. That's why the content of Arata Academy is so varied that there are many concepts that are related. I mean, you're part of a special group of people who are constantly looking for ways to improve their quality of life. Unfortunately, you can get into a spiral of constant information in this search. You see a post with good tips on this social network, you hit like, and then as a result, that algorithm will soon show you 10 other posts that are similar. You see a quality video and soon another one will be appearing in front of you. You download an ebook and before you're done, you're already looking for another one to be reading. When this happens, your implementation process becomes really slow. You take time to put what you've learned into practice because you're stuck in a habit of always wanting more and more information. What we need to understand is that this is a habit formed in part by your desire to learn more and more. The algorithms that want you to spend additional time on the internet, they also play a part. Just like lighting a cigarette after a meal is a habit that characterizes the smoker, the fact of not smoking under any circumstances is also a habit that characterizes the non-smoker. The stronger the habit, the weaker the influence of external factors. Those who have the habit of practicing sports well instilled in their minds will continue exercise even on cold and rainy days. Now, on the other hand, the beginner who has not yet embraced this habit will need a special day when all the conditions are right. One of the ways to achieve the desired consistency of habits is conscious practice, understanding the results that we can reap in the long term. In the truly wealthy training, for example, one of the activities we carry out is understanding the results that are likely to be obtained when changing habits. Then we determine what the desired results are, and then we discover which habits are positive to facilitate and accelerate the process. When you solve the problem of speeding up the good implementation of quality information, the next step is to remove your learning obstacles. There's no use having access to the best information, the best financial information in the world, if you can't learn anything. A learning obstacle prevents you from properly learning the knowledge brought about by the information that you have access to. One of the biggest cognitive obstacles to the mastery process is mastering introductory concepts on any subject. The more knowledge you have, the greater the tendency to come across new information and seek to fit that new information into your luggage. This happens when we're watching a video or reading an ebook and then we think, well, yeah, I already know that. When this kind of awareness is activated, our attention is dissipated. Therefore, we refuse to implement that concept. For many, implementing a concept that was already known is like having to admit that the concept is new, But since the concept was already known, the best way to maintain some consistency is to avoid implementing that idea. Therefore, if you have accessed some information and you identify that some of your current investments are not interesting due to low profitability or high administration fees or taxation, you can reflect on what can be done, what can be implemented today. Do this regardless of whether you already knew this tip before. In our financial education process, what really matters is seeing our savings, our investments growing and increasing our quality of life. We're not running a competition to reward who is the most original in financial concepts. Therefore, if you come across ideas that are already known, well, that's great. This is a great occasion for a reality test. You can use this opportunity to be honest. Remember, information is not power. This is not about finding new information. This is about checking honestly whether you are implementing everything that you already know. And once you remove the blocks and really learn, then you must avoid the tendency to procrastinate. Procrastination makes you miss good opportunities to get rich. Never put off until later what you can implement today. In a world of finance, timing is essential. A particular stock might be cheap this week, but not next week. Bitcoin might have dropped 10% and be on sale today, but not tomorrow. A good business opportunity might be presented to you, but the validity period of that proposal is probably short. If you procrastinate, if you leave it for later, you may end up losing your chances of getting rich. It is not that these opportunities alone would make you rich, but if you procrastinate, if you let every little opportunity pass you by, it can have a very big impact on your bottom line in the long run. There are great reasons why we don't implement certain investment strategies right now. It might be that in order to access certain financial products, it is necessary to first open an account at some exchange. To buy Bitcoins, to store your keys, you need to install a wallet. Yeah, maybe there are other priorities in your life. One of the reasons that many people don't implement good investment strategies is that they think that they don't have enough money yet. Those with more modest values, they tend to calculate the expected interest and then they judge that the expected return is kind of not really worth it. In this decision-making process, we think that we'll first need to accumulate more or wait for a pay raise. Only then will we finally become a serious investor. What this process ignores is that the rapid implementation of the habit that matters the most. The absolute profitability might be small, but the experience of separating money that will not be spent on expenses and sending it to a long-term application, investment, that is something that has enormous value, especially if we manage to turn this into a habit that will be maintained for many years. If you remove learning obstacles, if you get in a habit of implementing quickly and reducing procrastination, you can use the access that you have today to turn quality information into money in your pocket. You now have access to virtually as much financial information as you want in your pocket. With a few taps on the screen, you can access knowledge for free that the most powerful people in the world didn't have until very recently. To make good use of this access, you need to consume only quality information and also in the right amount. Above all, have to put this acquired knowledge into practice, and for that you need to get into the habit of acting quickly, removing learning obstacles and reducing procrastination. For those of you who are interested in transforming information into money in your pocket, well, I invite you now to attend a special class of our financial course, Truly Wealthy, by visiting arata.se/trulywealthy.